Hello, this is the continuation of the list of rejections, personal ones, in case it continues to be insinuated to prevent me from income or point out in person or otherwise at my breast or genitals harassing me and having that police call being a gentleman when I'm trying to, for instance, obtain funds to run blog or things like that. That is what is happening in the United States since the divorce, because to some the divorce is a green light to have someone for sure killed, at least harassing a little bit here and there with scope of raping, which is women adore. Women adore, especially that is because they want to have no kids, fornication, and to have like a couplet provided a child. That's all. Being loved, right? It makes no sense. That requires some education. Money is not everything, you know. For me, it would be nice to be everything because I am single. That's for sure. And I also have so much money that is in persons who are being killed pending that as human rights activist I should have that money I to be able to have them prevented from being killed. That is by making sure that those corrupted persons they go and fornicate whoever it is that they want, and or I don't know, go fertilize themselves as a cow for each steak they keep on eating. However, that Graciela will be rich, which is fine, you know. That she's a nice person. She did finish as a virgin. What do you want me to blame her? You know, that is dedication to science. You know, some do Pinocchio, some do you know, syringes. As long as sex is not involved and work is to earn one day someone, that is what it takes, and that is not for me. Thank you. There's science to it. Science that is mind science. That the whole therapy is all of it is about it, that I actually know better than whoever it is that was extorting money to prevent me from work. Yeah, and so that is to continue. I am not romantically interested, never was and never will be, in Elmore, Jamie Elmore, and or his wife, because some people are disturbed, and or whoever it is else that still thinks that there is something else than marrying or pretending to have sex with women, or have it otherwise than to not being impeded from income and from safety because police does not do their work. That there's absolutely no doubt about it. That is the cause. The second one is of course a lack of experience, but no one wants to skip having children and have that other person not maximally providing as much pleasure as possible and being self such provider to have kids, or have no none of them and make love, which providing kids is like saying, do you want a steak, you know. That is the distorted conservatism, than having stomach ripped off and or uterus, you know, in pounds, whatever it is that that person is killing without growing anything on the land and extorting from China or Mexico, which is again, you know, in the name of the United States, the freedom, right? And dancing and you know, trying to fight to have that. What's the word? Fear of all police, even book, you know, book on Tai Chi, that slob from Arizona who tried to push me, and because I asked for directions, pressed me to the ground in front of two people from Switzerland. I also placed to jail an African American without ID who I offended by not saying that I am as much of a negligent person as he is. I am very sorry because I am not. When I was robbed and impeded from having a new copy of driving's license as a group harassment of DMV in California, because that's where that ex sister-in-law was from, that is because she does nothing here apart from looking for a husband, which was her declaration, and she is not entitled to do so because it was a gifted visa, whereas I do work and do have activity, always had. So that is a big difference that, you know, nobody knows. My activity also is pro staying alive and pro choosing right person most loved and desired, as opposed to discussing what is gonna happen to someone's uterus, and doing the same to animals, which is, oh, I'm also against. I'm for growing fruits and picking them, and vegetables as well, for all, and placing right prices. That is to say, now, in here in California, I do not wish, apart from the one who pushed me, because he pushed me, for sure, 100%, I don't want and desire anyone who does any violence, verbal abuse, or is just simply mean and hateful, and vice versa, because hatred and sex are not compatible. That is a low tier revenge, like leading to death, that brings people from lower class to behave as such, and preventing any higher states pushing that onto monasteries, which also I would like to mention Jianghu Shifu and all of those monks from there. From now on forward, I don't want to have anyone who does not want to, having Mama defending him, even though it was not in person that he does those rejections, to demand from me any sort of romantic interest ever. Okay, and the same is with Jen and Shifu. I don't have that type of interest, and this is because, again, in person versus the dream that that person promotes to extort money for a feel good, as if it was a song, also sung to somebody about someone to have those emotions, which is prostitution. Like, I do not want to participate in it and be a victim of organized crime, because that's what it is too. That is not different. The corruption has to be addressed by what I'm saying, taken notes, with lots of attention, and then placed money and attention to do so, because otherwise all of those millions, they are just like paper, like Billie Eilish, this kind of thing. That's all. Who someone then says, well, why did she do the lovers? Well, why not? No, nobody else was able to defend her. They came, started grabbing her breast, like in my case, so she had to defend herself. And that is the same in lockups with James, for instance, who enforces that as an officer to, like, hands grab naked prisoners, or probably officers and nurses as well, but because outside he has a gang of organized persons to do so. That is sorry, I forgot also. That is also another 5 days. Nathan is still welcome to join me if he wants to leave that fantastic job. He is for sure welcome, and whatever I say, it makes sense. There's no contradiction. I don't work on emotions because also of Zen training, and so, however, Nathan, like I said, the dream between the Nathan being a wonderful person, and in person being a person that cannot do his job to fullest capacity, having such judgment, and also having that person, let's say, do no work at all, in where those females are kept pretty much hostage. That is, including some rape victim, that is not some material for a husband. Imagine, if I have a daughter, who would want a husband like that, especially associated with a bunch of people running with guns. Thank you, no. And so from now forward, I would never want to date him. I mean, if he came, I can help him for sure, but romantically, he's of no interest to me. So, because again, the dream and the reality is so drastic, and what person thinks inside, as dreams as possible, impeding work to me and others, punishing for doing work, is actually not enough when person in person does nothing or harms, or like I was there because I was attacked by those females and threatened, again as usual, with being killed with psychotropic drugs, because that's the model, to discard the testimony and kill with psychotropic drugs for having those people stabbed, being robbed, and accused of, for instance, littering or demolition. That is what they do to, you have to give in all your possessions, and then people are pushed out on streets, and also pushed out of workplace with label that they use from anonymous alcoholics and mental health. That impedes work for majority who have talents, unless it is about declarations of love, which are personal. It can be in public and scream, that is fine. However, that is the same as rejection. It cannot be that those are mistaken with work or punishable. Oh, the same as the person who assaulted me on the Golden Gate Bridge, the Latin American security, that I screamed, yeah, you go, good work, when he was biking and together with the others. I cheered others being alone, an armed, alone person in sweatshirt. And he actually stood in front of me with his bicycle, tumbled me to the ground, tried to drag me, to throw me down the bridge to protect mental health from Poland, where after I took the entrance exam, I went to see a psychologist, or psychiatrist, I'm sorry, it is a psychiatrist, and I said that I felt that I failed my family so much that they wanted to have me dead for not providing legal services. And that was what that person unfortunately decided that was a depression or a deluded perception, which is not, because if that person who is then associated with mental health forces to kill with drugs, or forced to the same place where they kill persons, also my friends, artists, and persons who resign or retire of many places, that is what my brother is implicated in, and I have nothing to do with it. I've been to medical school, finished it, and have a diploma, even if that was stolen, which also Nathan is not interested in. I mean, oh well, right? He took everything I was allowed to use, as opposed to what they've robbed. That was mine, saying that what I obtained in divorce was stolen in California. That it was also stolen from on the 31st of December last year from a bus stop, and I did not get neither report number nor anyone gave back anything. That's it. And now, if I have even food, that seems to be a favor still, despite working. As a graduate of leadership in education, that's how you pay. I mean, of course, Elena Thousand, she was black. She was also robbed because she was eternal student, paid from the grant 2-3 times less than others, or what she could make in business. But if you resign, then you are well harmed. And so that was, I also saved her from being called 911, on which was what the main suggestion was. Well, to place her in some loony bin when she was hiding in a closet because of the boyfriend. He was a drug addict that was doing a PhD, and she was devastated because he was not actually pursuing her. That was porn that he was interested in, like most men. I mean, that's not something new, because men are allowed only what enables work, which means someone who they desire less, and who desires them less. For that, there is mental health only, actually, in most countries. For that, or force unwanted on drugs as a roofie, because people have no idea what sexual phases, stages are, physical and mental, and label that as sickness, and violence, or in other states as sex, which is ridiculous when I hear about it. So that is why the person who had tried to assault me in Arizona, that policeman, also I for sure romantically don't want, and for sure no, never will I want anything to do with. And that is also for work. That person is not a person who was nothing more than overwhelmed in a large area where there are two policemen. So that's why I'm explaining him, so that he does not get killed, because that's what people do, especially black ones, when he kidnaps a kid and wife and or places them into jail. Well, no wonder, right? Where that person is without falling from somewhere, or being attacked without help experimented in. Okay, let me continue that